Number 22. The U.S. warns of a possible second strike on Venezuela. At the start of 2026, just as Venezuela was counting down to ring in the new year, a terrifying event struck. In the early hours of January 3rd, Caracas was rocked by a series of explosions. Windows shattered, alarms blared, and the ground shook like an earthquake. Locals at first thought it was another gas explosion or a shootout, things they'd sadly grown used to. But this time was different. It was the opening act of a direct U.S. military intervention, something most people had only seen on TV. Just hours later, President Donald Trump appeared on screen, announcing that Delta Force had captured President Nicolas Maduro and taken him aboard the USS Iwo Jima. But how did things spiral so far out of control? How did a country once seen by the U.S. as a trusted oil partner become the target of a lightning-fast military strike? To answer that, we have to rewind nearly 190 years. Venezuela was one of the first Latin American nations to be recognized by Washington back in 1835. In 1895, when Venezuela was in a border dispute with Britain over what's now Guyana, the U.S. actually sided with Caracas under the Monroe Doctrine, basically saying, "This is our backyard." Things got even closer in the early 20th century when Venezuela discovered massive oil fields around Lake Maracaibo. Venezuela quickly became a key oil supplier to the U.S., drawing in big companies like Standard Oil. For Venezuelans at the time, America was not just a customer, but the perfect partner. During the Cold War, Caracas was even considered a strategic ally in South America. The U.S. sold Venezuela 18 F-16 fighter jets, making it one of the few South American countries to operate F-16s for a long time. But everything changed in 1998 when Hugo Chavez came to power and turned the country's direction upside down. He built his image on being anti-elite, anti-American, and anti-foreign corporation. In 1999, Chavez tightened control over the oil industry, forcing the state oil company PDVSA to take the lead in all projects. U.S. oil giants like Exxon and Conoco pulled out, and their assets were nationalized. From then on, the two countries' relationship shifted from cooperation to confrontation. In the 2000s, Venezuela's economy rebounded thanks to soaring oil prices, at one point over $100 a barrel. Chavez used that money to expand social programs, reduce poverty, and boost education and healthcare. But at the same time, the economy became a ticking time bomb. Venezuela grew more and more dependent on oil, while agriculture and industry shrank. By 2013, Chavez died, and Nicolas Maduro took over at the worst possible time. In 2014, global oil prices crashed from over $100 to under $30 a barrel, slashing nearly all of Venezuela's foreign income. Maduro took a risky path, printing money instead of reforming, which led to insane hyperinflation, some years over 65,000%. This was when U.S.-Venezuela relations hit full-on confrontation. Since 2019, the U.S. has sanctioned PDVSA, frozen assets, and recognized Juan Guaidó as interim president, aiming to choke off Venezuela's oil money. Venezuela hit back by getting closer to Russia, Iran, and China, and using ghost oil networks to dodge sanctions. Under Biden, there were moments when it seemed like the ice was melting, especially after the 2023 Barbados Agreement. But the controversial 2024 election froze everything again. When Trump returned to the White House in 2025, the standoff escalated, more direct, tougher, and ready to use military force. It all came to a head in the early hours of January 3, 2026, the moment Caracas woke up in darkness and explosions. According to your scenario, the attack began with a cyber strike that knocked out power and communications, plunging a city of millions into a pitch-black maze where rumors spread faster than light. Then came a massive air assault. About 150 planes from 20 bases bombed key targets, clearing the way for helicopters to land. Delta Force moved in, neutralized the bodyguards, and captured Maduro and his wife. Images showed him blindfolded on a U.S. warship. The domestic reaction was immediately split, sharp as a knife. The opposition celebrated, calling it the hour of freedom, as if a whole era had just collapsed. Meanwhile, the Chavismo camp fractured. Some tried to hold on to power. Others called for resistance. Caracas fell into a strange state, Some neighborhoods cheered like it was a festival. Others locked their doors, bracing for the worst. According to reports, around 100 people died. A number that isn't just a statistic, but 100 families shattered in a single night. The climax came on January 4th, when Trump declared, if they don't cooperate, there will be a second strike. This was no longer a diplomatic threat. It was an ultimatum with the sound of war. Number 21. The U.S. states its reason for arresting Venezuela's president. The U.S. claimed it arrested President Nicolas Maduro for counter-narcoterrorism. But looking deeper, the whole operation was far more complicated. Since 2020, the U.S. has accused Maduro and his inner circle of funneling drugs into the U.S. via the Caribbean, fueling the overdose crisis that kills over 100,000 Americans every year. Back then, the U.S. offered a $15 million reward for Maduro's capture. Under Biden, the reward rose to $25 million, and when Trump returned for a second term, he bumped it straight up to $50 million, calling Maduro one of the world's biggest drug lords, on par with El Chapo in terms of threat level. The U.S. also accused criminal groups like Venezuela's Tren de Aragua gang of spreading into Chile, Peru, and Brazil, and claimed Mexico's Sinaloa cartel had ties to Caracas officials. A classified intelligence report in 2025 said Maduro did not directly command Tren de Aragua, but the U.S. Department of Justice kept the charges. The Venezuelan government had turned a blind eye to these groups, creating a super drug corridor dominating the entire Caribbean route. For the White House, this was no longer just Venezuela's problem, but where there are drugs, there's also oil. Venezuela has the world's largest proven crude oil reserves, 303 billion barrels. For the U.S., that's too much to ignore, especially with global energy competition and China rising. When Venezuela nationalized its oil industry, billions of dollars in U.S. business assets were wiped out. Trump had once declared he would take back what belongs to America. Coincidentally, just 2 weeks after Maduro's arrest, interim President Delcy Rodriguez announced oil law reforms, opening the doors for U.S. companies to invest again. Washington later confirmed it had sold $500 million worth of Venezuelan oil in the first round, sending $300 million back to Caracas through a mostly U.S.-controlled account at a bank in Qatar to avoid legal disputes. Another reason, migration. In over 10 years, 8 million Venezuelans have fled their country. That's about the population of Washington state. Border cities in Colombia and Brazil are overwhelmed, while in the U.S., the migration crisis became a key topic in the 2025 election campaign. Washington argued that Venezuela's economic collapse, and by extension Maduro, triggered a wave of migration that put a burden on the U.S. itself. And of course, there's geopolitics. Caracas maintains deep ties with China, Russia, Iran, and Hezbollah. China buys Venezuelan oil at discounted prices. Russia provides military advisors. Iran helps with refining technology. Hezbollah is accused of training armed groups on the border. For Washington, Venezuela isn't just a country in crisis, it's a southern base for strategic rivals. To reassert its influence in the Western Hemisphere, the U.S. needs to remove Maduro. But is arresting a sitting president overnight as easy as an action movie? No. Caracas has a presidential guard, Russian-supplied radar, and loyal militias. However, many generals had lost faith due to the economic crisis and sanctions. Experts believe the U.S. might have had high-level insiders within Maduro's security team, or that some areas had their power, communications, and radar neutralized just minutes before the raid. Leaks suggest the operation was incredibly fast. Under 7 minutes from helicopter landing to exfiltration, faster than many past drug lord captures. Now, Maduro is being held at the Metropolitan Detention Center. His son said, "He's a warrior. He cannot be broken." Number 20. The moment that shook the international order. Of course, Trump's arrest of Maduro in the dead of night stunned the world, triggering a flood of reactions. Reuters reported that within just 3 hours of the operation, over 20 countries issued official statements, from Moscow to Beijing, Tehran to Havana, Madrid to Bogota. Russia reacted the strongest, calling it an armed invasion and a blatant violation of sovereignty, quoting Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova on January 3rd via TASS. Moscow demanded Washington immediately clarify the use of force to arrest a sitting president, something Russian experts said has never happened in modern international relations. Venezuela has long been a strategic Russian partner. Rosneft once invested over $17 billion in oil and gas projects there. And losing Maduro means Russia loses major influence in the Western Hemisphere. China's reaction was just as harsh, though with softer wording. AFP quoted China's foreign ministry saying Beijing was shocked and deeply concerned, emphasizing Venezuela's sovereignty must be respected. The reason? Huge numbers. According to aid data, Venezuela is China's fourth largest loan recipient, with $106 billion in financial commitments from 2000 to 2023. As of 2024, about $12 billion remains unpaid. Beyond energy, China operates Beidou satellite ground stations in Falcon and Guarico. U.S. control in Venezuela threatens to shrink China's strategic influence quickly. Iran's response was as expected. Press TV quoted Foreign Minister Hossein Amir-Abdollahian accusing the U.S. of military provocation and warning of a domino effect of instability spreading across South America. Tehran has reason to be upset. Venezuela once sent 20,000 barrels of oil per day in exchange for fuel and technical parts from Iran. Between 2020 and 2023, the two also cooperate on refining and military tech. In Cuba, Venezuela's close ally, State TV reported that on the morning of January 3rd, about 12,000 people gathered at Anti-Imperialist Plaza across from the U.S. Embassy, waving Venezuelan flags and chanting, "Venezuela is not alone." The reason is simple. Cuba used to receive 30,000 barrels of oil per day from Venezuela before 2019. Havana's economic survival is tied to Caracas. Across Latin America, the split was clear. Some center-right governments welcomed Maduro's removal as a chance for new stability, but leftist leaders from Colombia, Brazil, Mexico, and Chile strongly condemned it. President Lula warned at a January 4th press conference that a dangerous precedent has been set. If the U.S. can arrest a sitting Venezuelan president, where is the red line? Latin America is sensitive to interventionism, so this reaction is no surprise. Europe responded more cautiously. Spain's foreign ministry, Spain has over 200,000 citizens in Venezuela, called for restraint and respect for international law. Reuters quoted Madrid as saying it was ready to mediate. Some EU nations stayed silent, but Politico analysts said many governments were quietly pleased to see Maduro ousted, even if they didn't support America's methods. The United Nations stressed in a statement that unilateral military action may violate Article 2, Section 4 of the UN Charter, which bans force without Security Council approval. Secretary General Antonio Guterres said, "This is an extremely sensitive moment for the international order," implying that arresting a head of state could break the norms that have kept the world stable for nearly 80 years. So Maduro's arrest is far more than just a U.S.-Venezuela issue. It's a test for international law and a blow to the Russia-China-Iran axis as things enter a more intense phase than ever before. Number 19. The U.S. urges its citizens to leave Venezuela immediately. Just a week after the raid that shocked the world, Washington issued its strongest warning since 2019. All Americans in Venezuela must leave immediately. In a January 10th statement, the U.S. State Department described security in Venezuela as extremely unstable, noting that armed colectivos loyal to the old regime were increasingly visible on Caracas streets. These groups, loyal to the former government, were reportedly setting up checkpoints to search vehicles, looking for Americans or anyone seen as pro-Washington. This was more than just bureaucratic advice. According to Washington, international flights have resumed, but widespread blackouts, lack of basic services, and disrupted transportation make leaving more dangerous than ever. More concerning, the U.S. Embassy in Caracas has been closed since 2019, so Americans will get no emergency consular help if they run into trouble. In a country where electricity can go out for hours, the internet can crash any time, and militias can appear at any intersection, that's a serious risk. No one knows exactly how many Americans are still in Venezuela. Some are Chevron employees, the only U.S. oil company still operating there. But however many, Washington's message is clear. Leave now before the safe window closes. Meanwhile, Caracas was anything but calm. On January 10th, about 1,000 Maduro supporters took to the streets, demanding the release of the former president and his wife, who are now jailed in Brooklyn awaiting a March 17th hearing. Interim President Delcy Rodriguez appeared on TV, her voice emotional, vowing she would work tirelessly to bring Maduro back. On the other side, a U.S. delegation arrived in Caracas to discuss reopening the embassy, but the Venezuelan government remained silent, not confirming if they met with Rodriguez. It's also worth stressing, international travelers should absolutely avoid Venezuela right now. Many travel agencies have listed it as an extremely high-risk destination. International security organizations warn of looting, gangs, kidnappings for ransom, and roads controlled by militias. With unstable power, fuel shortages, and a weakened hospital system, even small risks can become serious problems. This is not the time to explore South America. It's the time to get out. Geopolitical experts have outlined 3 possible futures for Venezuela. The Panama scenario is the most optimistic. The military cooperates, a technocratic government takes over temporarily, elections are held in 1 to 2 years, investment returns, and the economy restarts. On the flip side, the Iraq scenario is a nightmare. The state collapses, remnants join gangs, oil infrastructure is attacked, and the U.S. gets bogged down in a new kind of insurgency in South America. The third, puppet government scenario is in the middle. The U.S. keeps its influence, sets up a pro-American regime, but it lacks legitimacy, creating a Venezuela that's stuck, not in civil war but not stable either, with a divided society and wary neighbors. If you've made it this far, share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about this event? What's Venezuela's future? Number 18. Pink dolphins in the Orinoco River. Deep in the South American jungle, in Venezuela's Orinoco River, you might be lucky enough to spot naturally pink freshwater dolphins. These dolphins, also called Amazon River dolphins or Bodo, are among the world's rarest freshwater dolphins. Venezuela and Colombia are estimated to have about 5,000 in the Orinoco system, more than many Amazon areas where numbers are dropping due to hunting and fishing. Why do dolphins live in freshwater? Millions of years ago, their ancestors lived in the sea. But as sea levels changed, some populations got trapped in the giant rivers of the Amazon-Orinoco basin. Over time, they evolved to adapt to the brown water. That's why pink dolphins have more flexible skulls, necks that can turn, and soft bodies that help them slip through flooded forests, places sea dolphins can't go. Why are they pink? That unique color comes from a dense network of blood vessels under their skin and the way their blood vessels expand when they move. Males are usually pinker than females. It's like showing off muscles in the animal world, since they turn bright pink when excited or fighting for territory. Compared to sea dolphins, Orinoco pink dolphins look very different. They can grow up to 8 to 9 feet long and weigh 330–400 pounds, about the length of a double bed and as heavy as a young lion. Their most striking feature is a long beak-like snout that helps them catch fish in thick vegetation, plus hundreds of small teeth that can crush small turtles, crabs, and catfish. Despite their size, they're incredibly gentle swimmers. Locals often spot them on river branches like the Apure, Meta, and Casiquiare. For local people, seeing a pink dolphin is a sign of a healthy river. Not only are they strangely beautiful, but these freshwater dolphins are also extremely smart and playful. Many visitors say they love to swim around boats, jump out of the water, or toss small sticks like they're playing games. Number 17. A tribe that allows polyandry and other secrets few dare believe. In the western Venezuelan jungle, near the Colombian border, there's a little-known tribe, the Bari, also called Motilon Bari. They're famous for polyandry, allowing women to have multiple husbands at once to water the seed for their children, and for many customs that would leave modern folks stunned. Besides believing that a child needs many fathers to grow strong, smart, and brave, the Bari have other unique views about the body and nature. For example, they believe long hair is where the soul of courage is stored, so men never cut their hair, while women trim theirs but never shave it all off. When a child is born, the tribe doesn't throw a birthday party like many cultures. Instead, They hold a first hunt ceremony. The father takes the baby into the forest to teach them to listen for animals and spot tracks. In daily life, the Bari strictly follow sharing rules. No one eats alone, not even a single potato. If someone breaks this, they're seen as carrying bad spirits and risk being shunned by the community. There's also an unwritten rule: never build a house too sturdy. Bari homes are made of bamboo and leaves, easy to take down. They believe if you stay in one place too long, your spirit gets frozen and loses its connection to the forest. So they'll move the whole village anytime there's a natural change or a message from the forest. Number 16. For women, plastic surgery is practically mandatory. Venezuela has long been known as the land of beauty queens, producing many Miss Universe and Miss World winners. It's not just national pride. It's a massive beauty industry deeply woven into the culture and society. There are hundreds of beauty training centers, often called beauty queen factories, where girls, even little girls, are taught how to walk, eat, talk, and especially how to prep for surgery. Beauty standards here are strict. Big bust, tiny waist, full hips, V-line face, high nose. You might be surprised to learn that even mannequins in Venezuelan stores are designed with exaggerated chests, tiny waists, and big hips, far from international mannequin standards. This isn't just a fad, but the standard of beauty. According to the Venezuelan Society of Plastic Surgery, over 300,000 cosmetic surgeries are performed each year in Venezuela, despite the ongoing economic crisis. A breast augmentation can cost 3,500 faisans, almost a year's average wage for many workers. Even poor families borrow, sell assets, or spend all their savings so their daughters can get surgery and enter beauty contests, hoping for a better life. Some parents even give hormone shots to girls as young as 8-9 to delay puberty and help them grow taller, something international health organizations have heavily criticized. Sadly, every year there are deaths or severe complications from unsafe surgeries, but the trend isn't slowing down. Beauty contests big and small still happen all over the country, despite food shortages, hyperinflation, and lack of medicine. Number 15. Looking sloppy in public is a no-go in Venezuela. In Venezuela, appearance isn't just about personal style. It's part of the social language, showing respect for others and yourself. In Venezuelan culture, showing up in public in wrinkled clothes, tank tops, flip-flops, or with a pale, makeup-free face can get you labeled as rude, uneducated, or even unsafe. You'll see men riding motorcycles in pressed shirts and polished shoes. Women, even at the market, wear red lipstick, have tidy hair, and dress neatly. A 2022 Estilo Venezuela magazine survey found that 87% of Venezuelans said they'd feel slightly offended if someone showed up at a community event looking sloppy, especially if they're a foreigner. For visitors, the safest bet is to dress neatly and cleanly. During the day, men should wear a polo or light shirt, dark pants, and closed shoes or clean sneakers. Women should go for dresses or jeans with a stylish top and a small, tasteful purse. In the evening, if you're dining out or meeting locals, a blazer, a little lipstick, or simple jewelry will help you fit in. Never wear shorts, tank tops, pajamas, or flip-flops unless you're at the beach. Also, avoid flashy designer accessories to keep from drawing unwanted attention. Number 14. No selling single pills in Venezuela. In Venezuela, buying medicine isn't just about having money. In the US or many other countries, you can easily walk into a pharmacy and buy painkillers, cold meds, or antibiotics without a prescription. In Venezuela, you need a doctor's note or official prescription for almost every medication, even the common ones. This started with over a decade of economic and healthcare crisis. With hyperinflation and a lack of foreign currency, over 85% of medicines in Venezuela have to be imported, leading to constant shortages. According to the Venezuelan Pharmaceutical Federation, 2023, essential medicines are missing in up to 78% of public hospitals, and even private pharmacies are short on about 60% of basic drugs. Even buying single pills, a common practice in developing countries to help the poor, is strictly banned. The government claims it's to control dosages and prevent hoarding, but in reality, it forces people to buy whole boxes at higher prices, far beyond most workers' means. It gets worse. To get a doctor's note, many people have to line up from 3 to 4 a.m. In the overloaded public health system, many doctors have quit or changed jobs due to low pay. Many earn just $20, $30 a month. So people often have to pay under the table to see a doctor faster. Number 13. Bribery is a survival rule in Venezuela. In Venezuela, bribery isn't just common or shameful. It's an unwritten rule for survival. In a society choked by bureaucracy, lack of transparency, and ongoing crisis, greasing the wheels is often the only way to get things done. From traffic cops, hospitals, schools, to notary offices, there's always a special way for those who know how. According to Transparency International 2022, Venezuela ranks 177 out of 180 countries for perceived corruption. Nearly 57% of people surveyed said they'd had to pay money or give an unofficial gift to get public services, even when it wasn't required by law. No one says it outright, but phrases like colaboración, una ayuda, or algo para el café are polite ways of asking for a bribe. For example, if a traffic cop stops you, you could lose hours unless you offer a little help to resolve things quickly. At public hospitals, if you don't know anyone or play the game, you might wait 3 to 5 days just to see a doctor. But slip some cash in your paperwork and you could be seen in 20 minutes. Even in schools, many parents give gifts to teachers to make sure their kids aren't ignored or graded harshly. Number 12. The survival rule. Always carry your original ID. In Venezuela, always carrying your original ID is an unwritten survival rule. You can be stopped by police, soldiers, or armed militias at any time for a document check with no specific reason needed. According to Control Ciudadano 2023, over 68% of Caracas residents have been stopped for ID checks while traveling, and about 35% of those were fined or detained for hours just for not having the original document. A Canadian tourist once shared that he only carried a photocopy of his passport to avoid losing it, but when checked, he was held for 3 hours and had to pay about $40 support fee to be let go. In Venezuela, notarized copies, phone photos, or color printouts are worthless, no matter how you explain. Many foreigners think a copy is enough, but that's a big mistake. If you lack proper ID, you could be accused of illegal migration or bad intentions, making you an easy target for extortion. Arguing or reacting strongly usually makes things worse, since the authorities can detain you without clear reason. Number 11. The kilo of cash, rule for buying essentials. In Venezuela, you might carry a huge bag of cash to the market, only to buy a single carton of eggs. During the peak of hyperinflation, 2018-2020, the bolivar lost value so fast that people had to weigh cash instead of counting it, jokingly called kilo money. Seeing bags of cash stacked up for a few bags of rice or a tray of eggs became normal in Caracas. Even now, despite several currency changes, inflation is still sky high, at one point hitting more than 686% in a single year, 2021. People have lost faith in the local currency, switching to US dollars, gold, or crypto. It's estimated that over 60% of transactions in big cities are done in dollars, and many stores list prices directly in USD. But there's an unwritten rule everyone knows. Never flash your US dollars in public. A $20 bill in the US might buy you lunch, but in Venezuela, it can cover a week's expenses for many families. If you openly count dollars in public, you're basically painting a target on your back. Number 10. 3 no-go borders in Venezuela. Ever dreamed of standing at the point where Venezuela, Colombia, and Brazil or Guyana meet, touching 3 countries at once? Sounds romantic, but it's not so easy in reality. These remote borders lack a stable official presence. Instead, you may run into groups with bad intentions. They might charge road fees or detain strangers for money. Human Rights Watch 2023 ranks the Venezuela-Colombia border as high risk for disappearances. The Venezuelan government has launched security campaigns, but the rugged terrain and huge area leave gaps. That's why the U.S. Embassy and other foreign missions advise against all non-essential trips, even for adventure, research, or charity. Number 9. Christmas Mass on roller skates. During Christmas, while the world is filled with lights and carols, Caracas has its own unique tradition. No sleigh bells, no snowy streets. In this city, Christmas is all about wheels, the sound of skates gliding on asphalt and shiny rollerblades zipping through the air. Early in the morning, the city closes off major streets, turning them into holy skating roads for people to go to church on skates. Thousands, young and old, glide on four wheels to churches in a scene you won't find anywhere else. For Venezuelan kids, Christmas isn't about waiting for gifts, it's about the thrill of skating through wide streets with no cars. All December, they count the days until they can put on their favorite skates and race from home to church. For adults, it's a time for families to hit the streets, laughing and skating together to Christmas music. From above, it looks like a colorful river of people flowing through Caracas. Santa hats, roller skates, and bright clothes create a moving tapestry, a visual symphony perfect for any video. Nowhere else in the world do people go to Mass on skates. This isn't just a custom, it's a cultural statement. Christmas is joy, and joy must roll. Number 8. The toilet paper crisis. You heard right. For years, Venezuela has lacked everything: food, medicine, gas. But the most haunting shortage has been something simple: toilet paper. Since the mid-2010s, photos of people waiting for hours to buy a few rolls have become the strange but true symbol of a collapsing economy. The reason? Strict government price controls set prices so low that companies can't make a profit. Local producers can't import pulp, which must be paid for in dollars, while the country's foreign reserves have run dry. The result? Many factories run at just 20 to 30% capacity or face total shutdown. In 2013, to calm the public, the government suddenly nationalized a toilet paper factory and promised to import millions of rolls to solve the shortage. But the promise quickly fell flat. The problem wasn't one factory or a few shipments, but the entire strangled economic system. In daily life, people hoarded toilet paper, even bringing it as a precious gift when visiting family. Many supermarkets limited purchases to 2 rolls per person. The shortage got so bad that at its peak, Venezuelans used mobile apps, a kind of community map, to find stores with stock, like a modern-day treasure hunt. On social media, people shared photos of empty shelves, sometimes with just a few forgotten products. That scene became a familiar part of life, reflecting the exhaustion of what was once South America's richest economy. Number 7. Lining up is practically sacred. Because of long-lasting hyperinflation and constant shortages, Venezuelans have grown used to lining up for nearly everything: gas, propane, rice, sugar, milk, toilet paper, or medicine. Many start lining up at 4 to 5 a.m., even sleeping on the sidewalk to keep their spot. A 2023 data analysis survey found over 65% of Venezuelans had to spend at least 5 hours a week in line for essentials. What's special is that cutting, fighting, or arguing in line is seen as a social sin. Not just scolded, but you could be kicked out or even beaten. In a crisis society, lining up isn't just about buying stuff, but shows community spirit: first come, first served. One Venezuelan mom said, "I teach my kids from a young age. Lining up is more important than grades. If you don't know how to line up, you'll go hungry." There are stories that sound funny but are very real. Many bring plastic chairs, sun hats, snacks, or even radios to pass the time in line. You might not even get what you came for, but you still have to hold your place because prices could jump by tomorrow. Number 6. TikTok and social media are taboo in Venezuela. You might be used to scrolling TikTok every morning or watching YouTube before bed. But in Venezuela, TikTok was fined $10 million and heavily restricted starting late 2024. Why? The government accused TikTok of not stopping dangerous challenges fast enough. Besides TikTok, Twitter, now X, has been completely blocked during major protests, especially after the 2024 election. Google, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp often face scheduled outages or speed throttling, especially on politically sensitive days. In a country where over 80% of people rely on social media for news, Losing access isn't just annoying, it makes many feel silenced. Venezuelans have gotten used to using VPNs to get around restrictions, share information, or stay in touch with family abroad. VPN usage in Venezuela jumped nearly 170% in 2023, according to Global Web Index. In Venezuela, blocking social media isn't just about controlling information. It's an unwritten rule. Don't share too much, don't go viral too fast, and don't believe in internet freedom like in the US or Europe. Could you live in a society with no TikTok and constant social media controls? Share your thoughts in the comments. Number 5. Public displays of affection are totally fine. If you think holding hands or a quick kiss in public is just for Hollywood, Venezuela will surprise you. Here, public displays of affection, PDA, aren't just accepted. They're seen as normal and even something to be proud of. You'll easily see couples hugging, kissing, even making out right in parks, on buses, or in supermarket lines. For Venezuelans, these actions show you're confident, genuine, and truly proud of your relationship. On the flip side, if you keep your distance or act shy like a Westerner, or don't want to hold hands in public, many Venezuelans, especially women, will think you're not serious, just playing around. A 2021 CONAPTIS survey found that over 78% of Venezuelans believe public affection builds trust in relationships, and only 8% think it's inappropriate. Even in conservative rural areas, PDA is common, as long as it's not too extreme. An American blogger in Caracas shared, "The first time I refused to hold my Venezuelan girlfriend's hand in public because I was shy, she was mad for a week. Later, I realized for them, holding hands isn't just holding hands, it's saying, 'She's mine, and I'm proud of it.'" If you're shy or private, this might be a real culture shock. But if you want to fit in, get ready to show your love. Anywhere, anytime. Number 4. The OK hand sign is off limits. You might be used to making an OK sign, thumb and forefinger in a circle, to mean all good, or giving a thumbs up for good job. But in Venezuela, especially in rural or traditional neighborhoods, doing this can get you dirty looks, or even start an argument. The OK sign in much of Latin America, including Venezuela and Brazil, is considered vulgar, with a sexual insult meaning almost like swearing with your hands. In Brazil, it can mean your butt, a serious insult. In Venezuela, locals see it as disrespectful, especially with elders or strangers. The thumbs up, which Americans and Europeans use as a compliment or goodbye, is sometimes taken by Venezuelans as get lost, like flipping the bird in the US. In rural or conservative areas, it's seen as rude and uneducated. A 2022 Expat Forum poll found over 70% of foreigners had been glared at or lightly scolded after accidentally using the OK or thumbs up with taxi drivers or restaurant staff. Number 3. Sometimes alcohol sales are banned in Venezuela. If you're planning a trip to Venezuela and looking forward to a glass of local wine after dinner, be careful. Alcohol isn't always freely sold. At special times, like before elections or during Holy Week, the government often enforces ley seca, a nationwide ban on selling and drinking alcohol. Typically, the ban starts 72 hours before Election Day and lasts at least until 9 p.m. on election night. The official reason is to prevent fights and violence from drinking, especially with Venezuela's deep political divisions. Some protests have gotten out of control after just one drink. It's not just elections. During Holy Week, one of the most important religious holidays, the alcohol ban is also widely enforced to reduce traffic accidents. According to the Venezuelan Ministry of Transport in Semana Santa 2023, traffic accidents dropped 32% after the ban. The ban applies everywhere: supermarkets, restaurants, bars, nightclubs, even vending machines. Police regularly check and heavily fine violators. Some restaurants have been shut down for a week just for selling a single beer to a regular. Number 2. The group applause rule when a plane lands. Did you know that in Venezuela, clapping after a plane lands isn't just a habit, it's almost a national ritual? Passengers of all ages and backgrounds clap loudly, often for 15-20 seconds, to celebrate, making it back to solid ground. Why this unique tradition? Venezuela's air infrastructure is in bad shape. Many runways are cracked, signal lights are missing, and radar is unreliable. According to Airlines Reporting Corporation, Time 22, the rate of delays, cancellations, or changes on domestic flights in Venezuela is as high as 45%, among the highest in South America. Airport blackouts have even forced flights to divert or make emergency landings. In this context, a smooth landing feels like a victory worth celebrating. Some joke, in Venezuela, every safe flight is a miracle. A French tourist wrote on TripAdvisor, "The first time, I thought they were clapping for a great pilot. But when I looked around, everyone stared at me. I felt like I'd committed a huge crime." Some airlines even prepare by playing upbeat music on landing, encouraging passengers to join in. Number 1. Displaying the American flag in public. Did you know that in Venezuela, displaying the U.S. flag or wearing stars and stripes shirts isn't just a personal choice? It can be seen as declaring war on your whole neighborhood. Since Hugo Chávez's presidency from 1999, the government has pushed a strong anti-American imperialism message, calling the U.S. imperialista and aggressor. The U.S. flag became a symbol the government supporters see as betrayal and social sabotage. In recent years, especially after the 2019 political crisis when Juan Guaidó declared himself interim president and was recognized by the U.S., thousands protested with American flags, calling for international support. Today, if you hang a U.S. flag outside your house, wear a flag shirt, or even carry a USA backpack, you could be labeled a lackey of the empire. In 2019, a cafe in Caracas was trashed just for putting up a Welcome USA sign, a clear sign this is no joke. You could also lose access to CLAP food aid. Over 6 million families depend on this. Be cut off from public health care, or be completely isolated in your community. What seems harmless in the U.S., like flying the flag with pride, can be dangerous in Venezuela's deeply divided society. We've just taken a tour of the weirdest rules, strange taboos, and unbelievable laws in Venezuela. Which one shocked you the most? Have you ever accidentally broken a rule without knowing? If you love discovering strange cultures, unwritten rules, and unbelievable facts from around the world, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video.